Welcome to Good Morning Minister with host the Honorable Robert Nestor Morgan, Minister of Information. Our guest today is the Honorable Dr. Nigel Clarke, Minister of Finance and Public Service. Good morning, Minister.
Hey, good morning, Nadine. How are you?
I am well.
Welcome to your listeners. Welcome to your listeners online. Welcome to the listeners on Love 101, the family station. Nadine, we're going to have a special guest this morning that a lot of people have been looking forward to speaking to. He's not here yet, but he will be. So tell me, Nadine, what do you have for us this morning?
Well, when the song says lose again, it is not about money.
What is it?
It's about Satan losing again.
Oh, Jesus. That sounds good. Let me hear it now.
Satan lose again. The saints are praying. Another soul born for the kingdom. Another demon dead. Chains have been broken. Vectors are gone. The saints are anointed. We say we're ready for the war. And Mr. Satan lose again. The saints are praying. Another soul born for the kingdom. Another demon dead. See, chains have been broken. Vectors are gone. The saints are anointed. We say we're ready for the war. Put on your breastplate and gird up your waist. Be ready for the war. The sword of the spirit and the shield of faith. And be ready for the war. Armageddon soldier. Step up like a warrior. The saints are anointed. We say we're ready for the war. A courageous spirit set your face like a flint. Be ready for the war. You can't give up and you can't give in. Be ready for the war. Armageddon soldier. Step up like a warrior. The saints are anointed. We say we're ready for the war. Satan lose again. The saints are praying. Another soul born for the kingdom. Another demon dead. See, chains have been broken. Vectors are gone. The saints are anointed. We say we're ready for the war. And Saul said to David, you are not able to fight the champion Goliath. You are only a youth. But David said to Saul, who is this uncircumcised Goliath? He's going to die today because he has defied the army of the living God. A courageous spirit set your face like a flint. Be ready for the war. And you can't give up and you can't give in. Be ready for the war. Armageddon soldier. Step up like a warrior.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Nadine says she have her shield and she have her breastplate and she have her armor.
Of course.
And we are going to fight, Nadine.
It's a spiritual war.
Nadine, how we are going to fight?
Every day there's a war, sir.
Well, I'm afraid sometimes when you see the Christian, them come with them shield.
With the Bible.
And them have the spirit in them soul. And them are speaking in tongues. And sometimes you wonder, I wonder if I'm Michi attack.
No.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning on Love 101 FM, the family station. Also welcome our viewers on Instagram. Want to also welcome our viewers on YouTube. And also our very good friends, favorites of Dr. Nigel Clarke, our friends on TikTok. We have a special guest in here with us this morning. His name is, I don't need to even tell you his name. I mean, his reputation precedes him. One of the best finance ministers we've had since the independent history of Jamaica. We have the Honorable Dr. Nigel Clarke. Now, Dr. Clarke thought that he was coming here only to speak about finance. But Dr. Clarke doesn't understand that when people come into the hot seat, we fasten on them business. Dr. Clarke, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Minister Morgan. I know.
So we have diversified the political portfolio with this wonderful program we have, and thanks Love 101 for giving us the
You
opportunity.
sound quite natural at this.
Well, no, but Dr. Clarke, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
And I refer to him as Dr. Clarke because it's a title that he has earned. It wasn't bequeathed to him in the honorary form, which is why we start with education. Which primary school did you attend?
I had the great fortune of attending St. Richard's Primary.
No, sir, you go a prep school, you go Dr. Clarke. Why you coming and tricking the people?
No,
You go
sir,
primary school?
Yes. Well, let me tell you everything from the top. At age 3, the basic school I went to was a school, it doesn't exist anymore. It's called Faith Simpson Prep. I went to Faith Simpson. Oh, somebody here in the studio went to Faith Simpson.
Right.
Faith Simpson was right beside St. Andrew High School. My mother was a teacher at St. Andrew High.
Right.
And after Faith Simpson, I went to St. Andrew Prep. My mother was at the high school. You know, it was easy to walk over to St. Andrew High and, you know, hang out in the staff room. And then she would take me home. And I was at St. Andrew Prep until maybe grade 3, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But for grade 4, grade 5, and grade 6, I did at St. Richard's Primary. And
But St. Richard's Primary is like one of them schools up on Red Hills Road, not true?
St. Richard's Primary is off of Reynolds Road, yes, right beside a boulevard that today is called Carlson Muda Boulevard.
Yes. We won't go into the history of that boulevard.
And, you know, there's a man called Ludlow. Everybody who went to St. Richard's would know this. Ludlow was a traffic warden.
Right.
And Ludlow would come out, you know, and with authority direct the traffic.
The traffic area.
And Ludlow probably did that for 3 decades, up until, I mean, I would say maybe a decade ago. Or I mean, you know, when you get older, time kind of gets compressed. But I can recall seeing him in my late adult life, you know, with the same degree of enthusiasm.
Right.
And that, yes.
When I left St. Richard's, where did you go after that?
So I was at I did my common entrance from St. Richard's. My father was a resident magistrate, a judge, a parish court judge. Yeah, man.
You sure you want to say that for the
Yes, he was a judge. And then he went to the Supreme Court and he acted in the Court of Appeal. But at the time I was at St. Richard's, he was what is now known as a parish court judge, and he was transferred to Westmoreland.
Okay.
Over the period that I did common entrance.
Right.
So though when I filled out the forms, I had put down some Kingston schools. After I took the exam, it was clear that this September he would be in Westmoreland. So we went to the Ministry of Education and changed the application.
So which school in Westmoreland?
No, so what he did, he sent me to Monroe College, a boarding school.
Another Monroe person.
Yeah, man. Because
you know, we had Floyd Green here the other day and I paid both about Monroe. And it's really annoying.
Monroe is a phenomenal school.
I've not interviewed no more Monroe people on this
phenomenal school. But here's what his reason was. Right. His reason was that he was going to be transferred again during the high school years. 7 years of high school.
Right.
And what he didn't want, I should say they, because it's he and my mom. What they didn't want was for my high schooling to be interrupted.
So you went to Monroe.
So I went to Monroe on the top of St. Elizabeth Hill. Right. In the community.
Malvern Base, right?
Well, in the community of near, it's called Potsdam.
Okay.
Near Epping.
Right.
And yes, Malvern is a bigger community that's 5 miles away. But yes, it's in the.
So when you left Monroe, well, I'm not going to ask you about Monroe. I'm not going to know. I don't want nobody coming on the program. Well, all right, you're allowed 30 seconds. To boast about Monroe.
No, man. Those were a formative period. I spent 7 years there when they're at age 10.
Right.
And you go into all boys boarding school, which is dominated and controlled by the senior boys, right? You're in 5th form, 6th form, you run the place. You're a little boy at 10 years old, your voice don't even change yet. And you are terrified, right? Because if you don't do as you ought to, you know, you think teacher punishment bad. You wait till all the boys, you know. So it was an experience where one learned a lot of discipline, where one learned independence, right, to make it on your own, where one learned to get on with all types of persons, because you're in a residential community with boys from all across Jamaica, from all kinds of socioeconomic backgrounds, and the ability to get along with people
30-second up still.
Yeah, man. But it was a
We're not into the Monroe worship
it
today.
was a formative experience, and
I was
you're
never
going to
start
find
about
that.
Clarendon College every
You're
interview.
going to find that among Monroe boys because it's such a formative experience being sent away out of your parents' household and having to make it on your own in
Well,
a community.
listen, from what I have heard about Monroe, it's an
Makes it
excellent
tough.
institution,
Yes.
and it has produced some very competent contributors to national development. But you moved from St. Richard's
Yes.
to Monroe.
Yes.
Well, how did you reach to Dr. Nigel Clarke? How did that go? Which universities did you go to?
So after Monroe, I got a Jamaica independent scholarship, and I went to the University of the West Indies.
So you used to do your homework, Dr. Clarke?
Yeah, man. I did well in school.
You were the homework guy.
I did well in school.
So-
It didn't always start that way.
Right.
I remember in second form, I got something like 25% in physics.
25%.
25% in
You
physics.
failed physics.
I failed physics in second form.
I wouldn't want to go home to a
And
judge
would-
father with that.
But by time A levels came around, you know, I'd have top physics in the school and did well enough. You know, as those days it was GCE O
Right.
levels,
I remember.
English exams, right? And did well enough to win one of the
So
5
you won
Jamaica
a
scholarships.
national scholarship.
Yeah, and coming from, you know, it wasn't always smooth sailing. But yes, one of the Jamaica
So which
scholarships.
university did you go?
I went to UA.
And did what?
Went to UA and I did a degree in mathematics and computer
No,
science.
sir, me.
Yeah.
So that's why you're good, so because you're a maths brain. So when I see say
That's been from primary school.
San fallacy and all of them things there. That's why. So you did a math degree. I'm not gonna ask you to explain anything about that because I don't understand it. So how did you move from a bachelor's? Because I want the young people to understand the journey. How did you move from a bachelor's in mathematics to an MPhil?
Yes.
What is your MPhil in?
Is in applied statistics. So my particular journey, I completed a degree in mathematics at the University of the West Indies. I did quite well there. I got a first class honors, and I got this prize that they gave to the person who got the highest degree in the 3 campuses in Jamaica, Barbados, and Trinidad.
By the way, has there been a minister?
But I want to talk about the people who helped in that journey.
Right.
Like there was a woman who worked at the Faculty of Natural Sciences who, after my second year, came across to me and said, you know, you're doing very well, you know. You have done well enough to almost have the first class honors in the bags already.
Right.
Right. But I don't want you to get complacent. There's a prize that exists
Mm-hmm.
for the person who can come first in the Caribbean from the Faculty
So
of
you
Natural
came
Sciences.
first.
Wait a minute. She said Jamaica hasn't won that prize
Right.
in a long, long time.
Right.
I think you can do it.
Really?
No, without her coming to me and saying that.
Right. You
I
don't just
would
go
never
get your first class
I just
and
learned-
God.
Exactly. So what I learned from experience
Right.
is that not awareness is important for
Right.
achievement. People have to know what is possible.
Right.
I didn't know. If I didn't know about that, I would
Right.
have gone after it.
So did you get
I
it?
did. I got it.
So you got the top
The
prize
top prize
in the
in
Caribbean.
the Caribbean, from all faculties of
So
natural
me can say, you don't say it because it would sound arrogant. Dr. Nigel Clarke is one of the brightest people in the Caribbean.
No,
Challenge me on that.
wait, no,
You
wait,
cannot say it.
no, wait,
I will say it.
we're sharing intimate things that are not necessarily in the public domain. They are in the
But
public
it's
domain.
very important, you know,
But
Dr.
for the
Clarke.
purpose not
Let
of
me tell you
bigging
why.
me up, but of inspiring other
I
people.
know, and,
Yeah.
and that was a joke, but let me
Yes.
explain this to you. There are a lot of young people out there who need inspiration. They need to hear that somebody could come from 20%, 25% in
Exactly.
physics
Exactly.
to become one of the top performers in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And in many occasions, the people that are the mentors and the influencers of our young people may not be giving them the positive messages that will uplift them and make them great.
Yeah.
So when I bring persons like you and persons like Minister Williams and we talk about your background, we're not boasting about your background. What we're saying, it is possible.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah.
So how did you get the MPhil?
Right. So after I finished my first degree at UE, I worked for a year at an actuarial firm, Coke and Associates, and then my parents worked for the government. We wouldn't have had money, you know. We were okay, but in terms of paying the fees associated with overseas universities, that was not something that.
So
would
both
be,
your parents work for the government?
Yeah, my father was a judge, and my mother was, up until that point, was a teacher.
Really?
She later became Jamaica's first children's advocate.
Oh, your mother was a teacher.
She was a teacher for 20 years.
You know enough people who know that?
Yes. Yeah, my mother's a teacher.
So which university you went to after?
So after this, I applied for, I'm telling you how I applied for a Commonwealth scholarship.
Okay, because your parents couldn't really afford it.
No, without that, it wouldn't have happened.
Right.
So I applied for a Commonwealth scholarship, and I got through. But I applied for the scholarship for City University. This is just me just going about my normal, I see a
university never did that one big tapanar.
It was not tapanar, so I applied for that, right? And the Commonwealth scholarship is done in two ways.
Right.
Sorry, two steps. First, they determine that you will be a Commonwealth scholar, and then you apply to the university of your choice. Right. So I was selected as a Commonwealth scholar, and I'd put on the form, I want to go to City University. Right. My father, one day, just by chance, heard me talking. He said, "Are you crazy? Apply to Oxford University, young man." And again, it's about awareness,
right,
and ambition. I could easily what I could see as my possibility was applying to City University. And City University is a good university, right? But that was the extent.
But your father saw Oxford in you.
But my father said, "Look, man, you
Oxford."
And so I did that, and I was able to take the Commonwealth scholarship that I got and the Oxford acceptance that I got and put them together, and I went to do my master's at Oxford University. So
this thing where you don't like to boast and you don't like to proclaim your achievements is not a new thing. You always say so.
Yes, always yes. I was like, yes, that's a good way of putting it. And sometimes we need people to vision, especially when we're young. We need people in our lives who can vision for us. Whether it could be a parent, an uncle, a teacher, right? I give you two examples. That teacher that person at UWI who said to me, "Look, this thing exists, go for it." I give you this one example of my father kind of intervening, me kind of lowballing on my potential and possibilities and saying, "Look, man, what you talking about? You have the grades, you have the accomplishments. Apply to Oxford."
So how you move from Oxford to being a politician, though? I want to know what
that jump is too big.
But give me quickly, because we need to go to the tough stuff.
Tough stuff. All right. So when I was at Oxford, I went there for a year as a master's on a Commonwealth scholarship.
Right.
But I love it. I really enjoyed it, and I was doing really well. And I wanted to do a PhD, but again, I had to find the route to do it. So I applied for the Rhodes Scholarship while I was at Oxford doing my master's. And I went up to Oxford in the September. The December I came down, had interviews, and I was awarded the Rhodes Scholarship based on my performance.
So it's a scholarship.
One of the reasons why I'm in public service, right? And I'm not a career politician, was that who I am and who I have become, for better or for worse, has been due to all that I've received from Jamaica.
Did you need to go into politics?
I got my primary school education free. I got my secondary education free. I got a scholarship to university, UWI. I got a Commonwealth scholarship for my master's. I got a Rhodes scholarship for my PhD. Did not pay a cent. And in many ways, I am grateful to Jamaica. So I serve from a position of gratitude to Jamaica for, who I am as a person.
So what was your job before you became a politician?
Before I became a politician, for approximately 18 years, I was in the private sector. And my job for the 15 years before I became a politician, I was deputy chairman and CFO of a large conglomerate that has operations throughout when I joined 15 years before, it was just just had operations in Jamaica. And over a 15-year period, we built it to become a regional enterprise in Central America, the Caribbean, and in Europe, and in other places.
Something baffles me and it bothers me. And I need to ask you the question. Why would you leave that job and take a job for people cuss you every day?
Yes. Look, I've always had a passion for Jamaica. I was brought up I was brought up to believe that we are a people of destiny who will achieve great things. And over a period of time, I thought that Jamaica, was not fulfilling on its destiny. And I, rather than complain on a veranda, I offered myself to serve. Now, I have been, so it's a passion for Jamaica. I started an NGO 10 years ago that teaches classical music.
You started the orchestra in Jamaica,
Yeah,
right?
I started an NGO, the National Youth Orchestra of Jamaica,
right,
in 2009.
That was before this whole politics
Before
thing.
long, and I had no interest in getting involved in politics, or no idea that I'd get involved. And it was a music education program that taught Jamaican children how to play classical instruments: the violin, the viola, the trombone, the wind instruments, the brass instruments, and so on. And through that program, over since inception, thousands of Jamaican children have been exposed to the discipline, the rigor, the joys of playing a classical instrument. We had 6 centers across Jamaica, across Kingston and St. Catherine. We sponsored a center in Portland as well, and had summer programs. And lots of Jamaican, even people today who are teachers of classical music, some of the more popular ones on social media,
right,
started in my program. So that I always had a dispensation towards serving the public, but I did it in a private capacity before. And I, the opportunity to serve Jamaica at a more impactful level was one that I gradually came into. It was not anything sort of overnight. It was a gradual, long process for me to get even comfortable.
Do you regret it?
No, not for a second.
Why not?
Because I have enjoyed the opportunity to bring meaningful and institutional change to the economic fabric of the country, to build economic institutions, to pursue economic independence, and to expand economic opportunity for all.
So
we've had incredible results.
And that is where I want to go now.
That's where the satisfaction comes
That
from.
is where I want to go now. And I'm sure the persons online have a lot of questions to ask. We're gonna ask a lot of them. But we're going to start off by asking the simple question. What is your biggest achievement as Minister of Finance?
Okay. The biggest achievement, it's hard to single out a single achievement.
Give us 2 or 3 then.
But I'm going to give you things that I am proud of. I'm very proud of the fact that we have gone 6 consecutive years, 5 of which I have been minister, with no new.
What does that mean, though? What consecutive mean?
Consecutive mean every single year. I have presented budgets to the Jamaican people that have not added a single.
Can we drill down into that a little bit more? Let me ask you this. What does not going to Parliament and apply new taxes mean for the people?
What it means for the people is that regardless of how things may be, we are not adding to the problem. So over time, things have always been challenging over the course of our independent history. But the government would add to the problem every March by increasing the cost on the Jamaican people. That suddenly you'd have to fork out more money for more taxes, money for more GCT, money for more income tax, and
so
for other taxes.
Have you never increased GCT?
No, we actually decreased GCT.
People don't remember that.
GCT used to be 16.5%.
So you reduced GCT
in 2020. In the budget of that year, I reduced the rate of general consumption tax from 16.5% down to 15%. The first time that GCT has ever been reduced across the board. That has never happened
Has
before.
there
There's
ever
no
been a
precedent for
budget?
it.
Has there ever been a budget in Jamaica since independence where there has been no new taxes?
We have had
Since
a budget.
let's start since 1989. Then.
Yeah, we have since 1989. Okay, over the 22 years. I just want to make a point.
No, man,
But over the period 1989 to 2016, there have only been 4 years in which no taxes were introduced. Meaning from 1990, okay,
Mhm.
to 2016. That's 26 years.
So in
There have
26
only
years,
been 4 years in which and these 4 years were separate and apart. They were
Right.
not consecutive. There only been 4 times of no new taxes.
and you have done it what?
And we
How
have done
many
it.
times?
We have done it. This government has done it 6 times in a row, and under me as Minister of Finance, 5 times in a row.
5 times.
In a row. Okay, what we are used to, and this is again, the experience that I have had as a Jamaican. That budget meant new taxes. Every time a budget came around, there was a new tax. Right? That is the experience of every Jamaican every Jamaican who is 30 years and older. Okay, that budget meant a new tax every single year. You know what? The biggest example of what I'm saying, we had 22 years of continuous new taxes, including years in which previous JLP governments were in power.
Mhm.
And there was 1 year in which there's no new tax. And it was the headline in the newspaper. And another one, it was the headline. Today, because we have done it so consecutively, because it's such an expectation, it is no longer news.
But have you reduced taxes though?
Oh God, yes, we've reduced. That is something I've enjoyed. The process of being creative and
Which taxes have you
getting
reduced?
rid of nuisance taxes.
Tell me the tax number you reduced.
The nuisance taxes that I'm very proud of getting rid of are: 1, the minimum business tax. The minimum business tax was a tax that, regardless of whether the small business makes a profit or not, the government used to say,
So I could match it down to the
give me,
come
wait
on.
a minute, the government used to say, give me X amount of money. And I think the
So
X
whether you-
amount was it something like $50,000?
So if you own a shop and you register it as a business, whether your shop make a profit or not, government used to take 50 grand from you every year.
Every year.
And you take with that.
And we said we abolish the minimum business.
When did that
tax.
happen?
That happened in 2019.
You know, people don't remember them things.
People
no
don't
more.
remember, no?
Which other tax you drop?
And that used to affect young people, because when you just start a business and before you don't make $1 of revenues, you have to pay the minimum business tax. Right?
So which other tax
The
have
other tax that we're telling you, I hope you have enough time.
we have time?
We have there's a tax called the asset tax for non-financial businesses,
Right.
right? Where it no matter if once you have 20 sewing machines that add up to more than say $200,000,
Yes.
the government say you have to pay me, whether you make profit or not. You have to pay me a tax because you have the assets.
So let's say
Every
let's say
single
me have a
year.
mechanic shop. And let's say me have some drill and me have some grinder, and my mechanic shop they are country, but me have all equipment them because my friend them from foreign send me some equipment. So the government is gonna come to me, used to come to me back in the day and look for me equipment and say me have to pay
You have to pay.
tax on the equipment them me have.
Yes.
When
And
did you stop that tax?
that tax again that was 2019. And let me tell you something. That's a tax that disproportionately affected smaller businesses, because the tax was forgetting the amount, but it was right.
So
But if you're a big business, it was $200,000. The tax was $200,000.
it was
right?
capped at 200,000.
Yeah, so listen, man, you're a small business. You just start your mechanic shop. You just have a couple of sewing machines to make some dress, or you have a catering business to provide lunch to a particular canteen. And if you incorporate your company, you have to pay an asset tax of $200,000 every year.
Before you make a profit.
Regardless of, you could make a loss, you still have to pay it.
Back another day.
Yes, and I took one look at that. I was in a job for 1 year. I took a look at that and I said, that is madness that discourages business formation.
Right.
Discourages investment. And you know what? One of the things that is one of the biggest results from that, when we got rid of the asset tax and we got rid of the minimum business tax,
more people form businesses.
We had a record number of companies being formed in Jamaica.
Wow.
We got rid of those two taxes in 2019.
Right.
And during the pandemic, in the midst of COVID, which was the next year, the most number of companies were formed in Jamaica's entire history.
Small businesses.
Yes, because the hindrance was taken away.
Right.
It was what you call a distortionary tax. Right. Once you put those minimum business tax and asset tax that people have to pay, $50,000 for minimum business tax, $200,000 for asset tax, that people have to pay whether or not they make a business. What do you think happens? Whether or not they make a profit, what do you think happens? Nobody forms a business.
You mentioned COVID, Dr. Clarke, and how were you able? Because I remember people were getting food package, taxi man was getting grant, hairdresser get grant. How were you able to fund that?
Why, that was one of the...
Before you tell me, what were some of the things that the government was able to do for people during COVID?
During the COVID period, the government launched the largest social intervention program that Jamaica
What that means, Dr. Clarke?
The largest program of providing transfers to Jamaicans, cash transfers to Jamaicans.
You give people money?
We give people money.
Yes.
Right? We give,
how much money that?
We give over 500,000 people money directly.
So over 500,000 people got cash in their pocket.
Cash in their pocket during the COVID period.
How were you able to pay for that though? And what did you give?
And we're talking, 40 billion or more. We gave it in a number of ways. One of the more popular ones was a compassionate grant, where anybody whose income is less than $1.5 million or who is not on the formal tax roll could sign up and get a grant of $10,000. People that had never happened before in Jamaica. We had hundreds of thousands of people signed up who got those grants. We provided support for people who lost their jobs. You remember in COVID, people lost their jobs really quickly.
Yes.
Over 50,000 people were on Jamaica's, who got monthly money from the government of Jamaica for 12 months. Every month.
So hold on, pause. So 50,000 people got money from the government every month because they lost their jobs during COVID.
Yes. Every single month.
But nobody remember them something, Dr. Clarke.
People don't remember, no?
So tell me about the food package then, because my constituent did love the food package.
Oh, yeah, we had a lot of food programs that came through members of parliament, where through the Constituency Development Fund, it would have totaled thousands of packages if you add it all up and all the times that we did it. And this was, distribution through communities, going, as I'm a member of parliament, going from house to house in certain communities and providing food support and so on. We had grants to small tourism operators. We had grants to artisans, persons who have small businesses and so forth. We had special grants for elderly persons. We looked at the NIS tax roll, and NIS has
the national
insurance scheme, and national insurance scheme has over 100,000 pensioners.
Right. That is basically people who work and contribute to NIS
and get their money. Right.
Yeah.
And we said, look, because COVID introduced more expenses, we're going to take the people who earn the least, and we're going to top them up with additional grants. And we did that for people on NIS. We provided additional support to people on PATH, a number of grants, including grants to help support in the purchase of IT equipment, and so on, and to be able to pay the for online time. We had over, as I said, there are over 40 separate grants that we launched during that period. And this is Jamaica and the government of Jamaica coming to the needs of Jamaican citizens at the most vulnerable time.
Do people know the impact that COVID had on the economy?
I don't know that everybody knows. We have discussed it. I mean, the simple way to understand it is that the size of the economy fell by 10%.
So if the size of the economy was 100,
in 1 year,
we lost 10.
Yeah, it went down to 90. And just for you to understand, to go from 90 to 100 under normal circumstances could take you 5 years.
Right.
And in a single year,
we come back.
We dropped from 100 to 90.
Right.
And Jamaica launched and achieved one of the fastest recoveries, around. Previously, when we had the global financial crisis in 2008, 2009, it took us 10 years to get back to pre-crisis levels. When the economy tanked in the 70s, in 1976, it took until 1989. That's 13 years to get back to pre-1976.
So hold on, pause. Because I'm a history student, and I like when we understand where we're coming from. So you're saying the economy crashed basically in 1976, and it never recovered until 1989.
Correct.
Why?
It never recovered in 1989 because there were underlying economic structural issues where we didn't have sustainable finances, right? We owed too much money on one hand, and so we couldn't finance ourselves, and we didn't have enough foreign exchange in the central bank. So the economic shocks led to second and third order problems. So we were just always in problems over that 13 or 14 year period.
What are some of the problems?
We had some good years, 1986, 89,
right,
with apart from Hurricane Gilbert, but it took until 1989 for the decline that we experienced in 1976, 77, 78, 1980 to come all the way back and get higher than 1975.
What are some of the major things that have held us back as a country since about the 1970s?
One thing that's held us back is for a country needs to have a certain level of resilience. It needs to be sustainable, meaning that it can make its way through regardless of the ups and downs in terms of life.
So we need to have like a savings account type of thing. We need
to have some.
So in case something happens,
exactly,
do we have that savings account?
No. So let's talk about savings first. So one thing, we never have enough money in our central bank. Right.
We had the Bank of Jamaica.
Bank of Jamaica. We had negative reserves. By 1980, we had negative reserves.
Right.
Right.
Which means you had less money than you needed in there.
The central bank was a net borrower.
Oh. So, but Dr. Clarke,
the Bank of Jamaica,
but BOJ print money or them for borrow money?
No, we're talking foreign money now. Right?
Oh, they can't print US dollar.
You can't print US dollar. You can't print US dollar.
Back in the day, we used to print money like money I go to style.
You can print Jamaican dollar.
You can't print US dollar. You need US dollar to buy things.
You need US dollar.
Right. I understand.
Right. No matter how much Jamaican dollar you have, right, you can't buy certain things unless you have US dollars.
Right.
So back. The things were so bad, 1976 to 1977, 78, 79, for reasons that we don't have to get into here. But this is a fact, things were bad economically. By 1980, there were no US dollars in the Bank of Jamaica. Their foreign reserves were negative.
What do you mean there were no US dollars?
They owed US dollars on a net basis.
So they used to go borrow US.
They never have the money to bring oil into the country. Right? Today, we have in gross reserves approximately 4.5 billion US dollars in the central bank, and that's a huge anchor.
But what that mean, though, Dr. Clarke? What that mean?
What that mean is that people. You remember we're an island, so we depend on people to sell our stuff. Right. We depend on people. A lot of things that we have and consume come from overseas, and if they don't come from overseas, the intermediate goods that make them come from overseas. Right. So the outside world has to have the confidence that Jamaica can pay its bills.
Mm-hmm. So they need to know they have some savings.
You have backative.
Oh.
They need to know that you have backative. Even if they're not dealing with the government, even if them exporting lumber and steel and flour and cement and rice
to one company
or several companies, right? for those companies to be able to pay them back, those companies need to be able to source foreign exchange.
Mm-hmm.
So the exporter will look, wait a minute, this country now no foreign exchange in its reserves. I have to keep them on a tight leash. I can't give them credit.
So much foreign exchange we have now in
So
our
our gross reserves are in the region, and I'll give you an exact number, in the region of about $4.5 billion, our gross reserves.
So does that build confidence internationally about our economy?
Build a whole heap of confidence. First of all, it's only in recent times that we're in that range, in the 4 range. In 2016 when we came in, right? And let me give you net for net. The net international reserves are 4.1 billion. The gross reserves are 4.5. When we came in 2016, the net international reserves were just about $2 billion. So we've added under the stewardship of the current government, the net international reserves have gone up by more than $2 billion. And back in the day, in 2016, when we had that $2 billion net international reserves, about $1 billion of it was what they call borrowed reserves, where they would go out and they would say, look, put some of US dollars with me and I give you back in 5 years.
And pay an interest rate on it.
And we pay an interest rate on it. And we'll count that in our reserves, right? We got rid of those borrowed reserves.
Mm-hmm. There's some people
between 2016 and 2019.
But Dr. Clarke, we only have like 15 minutes. We're gonna throughout the interview, we're gonna go back to the main points.
Yes.
But we need to take some questions.
Sure.
And one of the main questions that everybody is asking is why the government bail out SSL. Did the government bail out SSL?
All right. There's been so much misinformation and disinformation about this. I want to make it categorically clear.
By the way, 292 people are watching. That's one of the highest.
Okay. All right. So I want to make that extremely clear.
On TikTok, yes.
That SSL is is like a punch to the gut to the Jamaican system. Okay. The government of Jamaica, however, has not and will not bail out any shareholder of SSL, and it will not and has not bailed out any client of SSL. The losses of the clients of SSL, as unfortunate as they are, and I extend my empathy and compassion to all those who have lost, but those losses are for those persons. And
so the government not going to take my tax dollars and your tax dollars and give it to nobody who did have money in SSL?
Not at all.
So tell me now, are the government mash up SSL?
No, sir.
But the argument out there in the Dr. Clarke, you would have believed, say, Nigel Clarke and Andrew Holness was the one who went down there and mashed up the company.
No, we operate a market economy where we have economic freedom.
Right.
People are free to start companies, to offer services, to sell products. There are rules and regulations that they have to abide by. Sometimes, people abuse freedom. And in the case of SSL, the evidence suggests, and things have to go before the court, that a lot of people abuse the freedom of the Jamaican system.
What would happen if the government just decides, say, it's going to start taking control of these entities?
Well, if the government decides...
A lot of people believe that the government should just go to a bank or a securities company and say, no, I'm taking control of you because I don't like what you do. Can you do that? Can you just go in and take over a company? You as Nigel Clarke?
Not under the laws of Jamaica today, and we are a country of laws. So the law does not permit me to do that. But we wouldn't even want me to do that in any case, because when we sort of tell people what to do in that way, then what happens is that people do not invest. And the products and services available to the Jamaican people declines as a result. So
what if the government, what if the government starts, because there was a point in time when the government was a big player in the market,
Yeah.
And it never ended well for us in the 90s.
Well, let's go through that now.
Yes,
let's go through that. At the time of FinSac, unemployment in Jamaica was double digits.
How much is it then?
Unemployment in Jamaica was as high as 16 and 15%.
That means 15%
over a long period of time.
What is it now, by the way?
Right, unemployment today is 4.5%.
No, you need to say it louder.
4.5%. In 2016, when I came into power, unemployment was 13%. Right? We had about unemployment was 13%. Today, unemployment is 4.5%.
That's how much.
Over
people do.
150,000 Jamaicans have jobs today who didn't have jobs in 2016.
So is it that we have less people? So like one of the things the critics always say is that, well, unemployment is down because less people look work.
No. There are more people employed in Jamaica than ever before. There are over 1.3 million Jamaicans working right now, Wednesday, September 20th. Right now, 1.3 million. We have never crossed the 1.3 million threshold in Jamaica's history. Never.
So what would happen if you started behaving like
Wait, I want people to understand something though about employment. People talk about people not, look, now it's not every adult over 18 who is in the labor market, because many adults over 18 are in school, and we have more people in school today than before. Many adults over 18 are taking care of other people. There are some adults over 18 who are taking care of their homes and so forth. Okay, but that has always been the case.
Mm-hmm.
And Jamaica's what they call labor participation rate, which is the percentage of the population who are in the labor market, is higher than in the United States of America.
So hold on. So the percentage of people in Jamaica who are seeking jobs or have jobs is higher than the percentage of people in the United States who are seeking jobs and have jobs.
Correct.
But people not gonna believe it, Dr. Clarke.
Well, the numbers are there for everybody to see.
Well, I don't. You know what I want? What fascinates me? You come here, right, and you give these numbers, and a man will come online and say lie. I say, why you think is lie? Me don't know, but I just lie. How you confront that sort of narrative?
Yeah, you know what? The good thing about Jamaica is that we have strong independent institutions that publish this data. And what the person should do is just go look at those institutions, right? Statin. And Statin has a web page. And, Jamaica...
So it's not you make the figures?
No, Jamaica lick about with Talawa, Statin is a part... Jamaica is a member of the United Nations, right? United Nations have 200 countries. And because we're a member of the United Nations, entities like Statin have to sign up to UN codes.
Right.
And in those UN codes, those statistical codes tell you exactly how things ought to be measured. And people come from other countries every few years.
Right.
And they review what we're doing. What Statin is doing, and they give Statin the highest grades.
Is it true that more people are working for peanuts?
That's not true at all.
Somebody on TikTok said people are just working for peanuts.
Well, look, here's what I would say to that. One, our per capita GDP, meaning the average income in Jamaica, is increasing over time.
Right.
Two, I would say that it would always be great for salaries to be higher than they are. But the first thing is to make sure that we have people in jobs. This is about a ladder, about climbing the ladder of development. And you have to, look where we're coming from. We're coming from a place where 1 in 6 people, when unemployment was 16%, 1 in 6 people did not have a job. We're now at a place where that number is down to less than 1 in 20.
So,
okay?
I want you to repeat these things, Dr. Clarke, because I want people to understand. So earlier, when I was a young man going to school, when it was 13, 14, 15%, youth unemployment was almost at 30%.
Correct.
1 in about 6 Jamaicans never have a job.
Correct.
Any job at all.
Any job at all, whether it is little money, middle money, or enough money.
And now we have 1 in 20 who actually have an ability to make some money.
And what we have to do, we have to look at the countries like Singapore and South Korea. You use what you have to get what you want, right? So before, we never had the employment. Today, we have the employment. Does it mean that all problems have disappeared? No.
So it better have a little money than no money.
Better have a little money than no money.
And more people have a little money and more money than who never have no money.
Exactly. But we're not rest on that. We're building on that, right? To make sure that the jobs of the future can be even higher paying jobs than exist today, which is why we have given over 1,000 scholarships to persons to go and attend UTEC and pursue STEM subjects, because that's one of the
What is STEM, though?
STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. The future, is cybersecurity and artificial intelligence and machine learning and computer programming and digital animation. UTech teaches all of those things.
So hold on.
And what we're doing is over the next 5 years, we're saying 1,000 fully paid tuition scholarships to Jamaicans who can demonstrate need, which is a lot of people, right? To go and get those kind of qualifications. You know what happens if you go get trained in cybersecurity or you get a job in animation, training animation? The salary that you can earn is much higher than other salaries.
So
we're supporting all of that.
So why this STEM thing though? Because everybody are talking about STEM. What impact that's gonna have on Jamaica?
Right. Here's the thing. For a country to develop, you see the development. We're doing things that have not been done before.
Right.
We have 3 highway projects at the same time.
Which one?
Highway in the east,
That is
in
St. Thomas.
Portland and St. Thomas.
Right.
Highway in the southern west.
That is the
that
South
just
Coast
opened,
Highway,
right?
Clarendon and Manchester.
Maypen to Mandeville,
Yes.
or May to Williamsfield. And we have highway in the north,
That's the Mobile
which is
Perimeter
the
Road.
Mobile Perimeter Road. And we're working on the highway to widen the north coast
So you're going to
highway, right?
make
So-
the North Coast easier for drive past.
Exactly. So we have all of those highway projects at the same time. At the same time, what we want to do, we want to build park in Portmore, build park all over the place, improve transport. What you need for those things?
But do you have the people to do it though, Dr. Clarke?
We need engineers, we need skilled technicians, and so on. We can't forever be importing these people to develop our country. Do you know that if you look at the percentage of people in the United Kingdom who graduate each year with a degree in engineering, it's 0.1%.
Right.
If that same percentage were applied to Jamaica, it would be 3,000 approximately engineers graduating every single year.
but
You know how many engineers we have in total in the country?
How much?
We have 867.
But so how you manage to build them project here without enough engineer?
So what we have to do over the next decade, right, is radically ramp up, right, in producing the kind of skills that can help develop our country. And we're underweighted in science, technology, engineering, and math disciplines.
But let me ask this question, Dr.
Yes.
Clarke. So we are at the top line with STEM.
Yeah.
But I hear that there's a shortage of plumber, electrician, master mason, carpenter. Is that true?
That is true. That is true. And what we're doing there with Hart, what the Prime Minister is doing, the Prime Minister has taken Hart under his wings, and he has made tuition at Hart free because
So you can go hard free.
You can go Hart free.
Right.
You can go Hart free. Once upon a time, you had to pay money up to $50,000 to get plumber qualification, housekeeper qualification, right? Carpenter qualification.
And now you can get
Now
it
you
free.
get it free. And the reason for that is that we don't, you see the unemployment rate down to 4.5%? It means that we're running out of
people for
people
work.
for work. We're running out of skilled people for work.
You know what I think, Dr. Clarke, the problem is? There's so many good things happening in Jamaica and so many bad things were happening for such a long time that people find it hard to believe.
No, people find it hard to believe.
They find it hard to believe.
They find it hard to believe.
Because they have never seen a Jamaica where you can't. I tried calling a plumber a couple of weeks ago and the man said, well, Mr. Morgan, still, you have to give me a week. But I said, the pipe a leak. So, boy, I have me book out Mr. Morgan.
Yeah. Even I have a barber. You know my barber who I bring to Parliament, right? Paul. Everybody know Paul because I'm about it. If I miss an appointment with Paul,
You come a cabinet with
I
beer.
come and come with beer. It's 2 weeks later.
Yes.
Yeah. What I'm saying to you, something is happening in the country, but we've been traumatized for so long that we can't believe it is actually happening.
But more ask a question. We have 5 minutes left, and this is very important. And every time I do this program, I'm bombarded with this. And I try to find the right way to ask the question so we can get the answer that the people want. Why did you only pay the teacher them 20%?
Okay, first of all, that's incorrect. That is not true.
But that's what people think.
That's what people, one of the problems we're having is the disinformation and misinformation, getting accurate information to people. We publish in the newspaper the new salary scale for teachers. And in the teaching profession, there are teachers who got 100% increases. There are teachers who got 50% and 75% and 40%. Right? There may be some who got 20%. But I'm saying to you that that was not the average increase. The average increase was substantially higher than that. And anybody who's interested in this subject needs to just look at the salary scales on the Ministry of Finance website, where
It's right
all the
there.
information is available. There was, principals before were making $3 million a year or $4 million a year. I'm just giving you rough figures. Today, principals are making between 10 and 11 million.
No, that's
a
not
year.
true, Dr. Clarke. Me not believe you. Dr. Clarke, you move principals from $3 million to $11 million?
I'm giving you yes. I'll give you. I published that in the newspaper. It's all over the place. But there are people who are vested in propagating misinformation and rallying up the Jamaican people with misinformation. I need people of all good conscience to be a part of a wave of. I don't say that things are perfect, but at least let us talk about facts.
So tell me, how much did it cost? You did this recent public sector transformation thing. How much did it cost the country?
The total bill is over $100 billion. And you know what I'm proudest about with that? What I'm proudest about with that bill, $100 billion, is that the people at the bottom, right?
Give me an example.
Okay, I'll give you an example. Many ministries have people who come and serve coffee and serve
You mean the
tea.
office attendant?
Office attendants, right?
Yeah.
They used to be on a salary that was about $9,000
A
or
week?
thereabouts a week.
That was minimum wage.
That was minimum wage, right? They were minimum wage salaries. Today, those salaries under this compensation reform are touching $20,000.
So you double them salary.
More than double their salaries.
But you also almost doubled it. Well, you didn't almost double it. You had a significant increase in minimum wage as well. You moved from 9,000 to like
9,000 to 13,500. Yes, but there's nobody, right, who is permanently employed to the government who is making minimum wage today.
But that used to be the case.
The government was the biggest employer of minimum wage earners. The biggest employer
I
of
know.
minimum
So
wage
there's
earners.
nobody.
And today, there is nobody in the government,
Who's
no
earning minimum
permanently employed person in the government who's earning minimum wage. They're all significant. And remember, the minimum wage moved by 30%. And I'm saying to you, we're significantly above minimum wage.
We have 30 seconds. I want you to articulate to the people who are listening, why is it important for the government to continue the economic reform and improvements that they're doing right now?
The reason is that we have made substantial progress, and that the progress that is possible is even greater than the progress that we have made before. We've been faithful to the Jamaican people. We came to them and said, we're going to recover in the economy. We have recovered in the economy. We told them that we would take care of the resources. We have managed without introducing any new tax on the Jamaican people. And we are the government that is focused on all parts of the spectrum in improving the lives of the Jamaican people. And the evidence supports that we are achieving that. And we need another term to make sure that the vision, right? The vision is accomplished.
Nadine, I know I'm begging you 30 more seconds. When did the fiscal reform process start in this country, Dr. Clarke?
Okay, the fiscal reform. There's another piece of this information that's out there. You remember, Jamaica had 18 years of reckless economic policies, reckless fiscal policies that brought the country to the brink. A new government came in 2007, and they used to bond capital markets at 12%, come back and celebrate, 12% interest. When Bruce Golding and Audley Shaw came in, they said, look, this is madness, it's unsustainable. Unfortunately, it was the global financial crisis, and they pivoted away from this 12% borrowing and said, let's go to the multilaterals who are lending to us at 1% and rates like that, okay? And the process of fiscal reform started then.
When was the fiscal responsibility framework?
It started with the sale of Air Jamaica, right? We had Air Jamaica during the 90s and the 2000s that racked up $1 billion of losses. Where would we be today? Where would we be today if the government at that time did not lose $1 billion in Air Jamaica?
And with that, Love 101, the family station. Dr. Nigel Clarke was with us today. I want to thank all our listeners. I want to thank our friends on the radio. I want to thank our friends on Facebook and Instagram, and also our friends on TikTok. I think we hit the record today with viewers. Dr. Clarke, I really want to thank you for joining us today. It was a really spirited and informative discussion. You're going to be coming back here soon because there's a lot that we did not touch. But until then, Nadine, thanks to you and thanks to all our support here at Love 101. Until next week, Wednesday, Good Morning Minister at 11 a.m. live on your radio and on your social media. Take it away, Nadine.
Thank you so much for listening to Good Morning Minister. Our guest for today, Honorable Dr. Nigel Clarke. You're tuned to Love 101. It's 1 minute after 12. We now invite you to listen to the midday prayer and meditation brought to you by Helping Hands Ministry. But